Your journey, how it started since the beginning before Bayzat.
When I joined, it was like very unique position where the company started as an insurance company.
Can you tell us more about how did you find that from an engineering leadership perspective?
We took 3 months to localize our products to Saudi market, including adding Arabic language, RTL, everything like that.
Would it be considered like a marketplace that anyone can like build an app on top of your platform? And
I had to build everything from scratch. The process, the teams, the culture, and it was a very unique experience. I learned a lot through that.
how are you handling this?
And then it was like just shocking.
Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to a new episode of TechTalks in Dubai. We have today one of the interesting companies and one of the interesting figures in the landscape of the HR. The company started back in 2016, and since then they did an amazing job. I have the pleasure to be with us today, Ahmed Abdelrahman, CTO of Bayzat. Ahmed, pleasure to be with us today.
Happy to be here.
Great. So Ahmed, can you tell us more about your journey, how it started since the beginning before Bayzat, and how did it started Bayzat?
Sure. So I started my engineering and technology career like when I was in college. I got very interested in programming in general. I joined a startup. It was building a mail service provider for the region. Reached, I think, around 5 million users and 35,000 B2B businesses. And then the company got shut down. So I saw how a company can thrive and lose everything. And that was at the very, very beginning of my career. I spent 2 years there.
Okay.
Then I moved to another software house company in Alexandria, Egypt, where I born and grew up. And there I also learned how to work with like international clients from different countries in Europe, in the US, and UK, and learn about like how to deal with customer requirements in general. I learned a lot from technology and also from building product perspective. I went through multiple transitions from large companies, small companies, again, startups before joining Bayzat. In 2018, I joined Bayzat as VP of engineering. And there, when I joined, it was like very unique position where the company started as an insurance company trying to get into the HR payroll space. At the same time, they were offering like an add-on of the HR and payroll system to as an incentive to the clients. So when I joined them, I joined as a VP of engineering, and I had to build everything from scratch. The process, the teams, the culture, and it was a very unique experience. I learned a lot through that. 2 years after I joined, I got the opportunity to be the CTO, lead the team, expand Bayzat to become like a super app for employees, not only focus on HR payroll systems, but everything from health-related insurance services to fintech services to employee wellness. Recently, since late 2022, some AI services to help the performance and the productivity of employees in the companies. And we expanded our product portfolio a lot, and we launched a lot of services. Right now, we are serving more than 300,000 employees across 3,000 companies in UAE, KSA, and we closed Series C round just recently.
Very interesting. So actually, you mentioned a sentence that like triggered my curiosity. The company you mentioned started as an insurance company, and then it moved into the HR space, and then you joined during that era. Can you tell us more about like how did you find that from an engineering leadership perspective? Was there the full software was catered towards helping the clients, like insuring them, and then you had to build another spectrum, which is now it's the flagship product of the company, which is the HR solution, or how you find it?
Things evolved over time. So as you know, there's nothing like there's no switch. So when I joined, there was a lot of things around building insurance related services that can help getting the insurance deal basically, and including building an HRMS solutions that can help also to be as an added value to the companies to give them an incentive to take the insurance through Bayzat. And we were the only company at this time that offered that. Most of insurance brokers and agents, they just offer the insurance. So while we started and everything was free, we started to see that the product start to shape in a very unique way and start to be very useful to a lot of companies. And that gave us the opportunity to start to think about how we can make it more localized, and this was like one of the key success for us to build a hyper localized solution, how to expand in different areas, and how to get to the position where we can charge for that. And while there was a lot of fear and hesitation about should we do that or not, should we charge and pricing, but all the leadership agreed that this is the right move. We moved forward toward that, and surprisingly, I think our solution now, the employee platform and infrastructure, maybe bring more than 45-50% of the revenue to Bayzat.
Interesting. So you mentioned you currently have clients in UAE and Saudi and like in some countries as well in the GCC. Can you tell us more, like when did this expansion start? Like and what's the formula for the expansion that you're following?
We started thinking about expanding, I think maybe even 2020 or something. And first country came to our mind actually was South Africa,
Okay.
not the GCC. We spent a lot of time exploring the market there, but then we realized that there is a bigger opportunity in the GCC market, and also it's more related and connected to what we are building and what we learned from UAE. And we have some clients who already have branches across the GCC market. Saudi Arabia started to boom in 2021, 2022.
And this is when you penetrated actually Saudi,
Yes.
right? Okay.
We decided to penetrate Saudi in 2022, I think by March or something. We made the decision, we started to establish everything, and then we took 3 months to localize our products to Saudi market, including adding Arabic language, RTL, everything like that. And it was a phenomenal engineering journey because no one said this for us. We just wanted to go very fast into launching in Saudi, and we will hack our way into localizing the product. And we did that in 3 months. In December, we were already live in Saudi. By Jan, I think we got our first client.
Interesting. And now, as far as I know, it is the biggest market for you, right? Saudi or
after UAE? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very impressive, actually, is that within those 2 to 3 years, you managed to capture like a great chunk of people. Like, is there a specific recipe that you have followed on that in order to make sure you're dominating in the market over there?
I think the first thing that we did was focus on what we do the best, which is hyper localized. So we localized our solution, our messaging, our brand to Saudi companies. And we started to explore more through partnerships and find from them and learn from them what actually our clients need. Doing the formula of product discovery, continuous discovery, listen to our customer, learning from them and building for them was the main thing. And we stayed focused on not being the generic HRMS solutions that you can shop from the internet, but something that integrate with the government entity, with your banking, with a case law and regulation, and labor law and regulation, etc. So with that, we added a huge advantage over other competition to actually serve clients in casing.
Yeah, definitely we'll come to the compliance and the regulatory aspect later on. But for the current time being, I'm very interested as well to know more about the AI initiatives that you're doing at Bayzat, especially with the AI automation that is happening around the world. So if you can share.
Yeah, absolutely. we were always focusing on machine learning, and we had some machine learning initiative in Bayzat since maybe 2019 or something. And I was always curious about language models. I used BERT by Google to summarize some text and things like that since 2021 maybe.
Yeah.
And when GPT-2 and GPT-3 started to come about by late 2022, I found a very unique opportunity to start to solve problems that we couldn't solve before. And that was a very starting point for me. Now, what I thought about at this time, that if I can provide a large language model with the right context, it will be able to achieve tasks that is not possible when you just chat with GPT-3 at this time. So what I did was just manually copy and paste a help article from Bayzat and ask the model to answer the question for the client or resolve the ticket. And when I saw it working and it was able actually to resonate when you give the right context, I started to build over that. And what I called it at this time was an LLM context provider. Now it's very famous, known as RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. At this time, nothing of that was famous, maybe didn't even come about, but took this LLM context provider, presented to the team and told them, okay, now let's expand over a few areas where we can test how to fetch the right context, add it to LLM, and then provide the answer either to our sales team during their sales calls or to our customer success when they receive a text or request from clients, to our marketing team to give them context so they can write a LinkedIn post. And then I launched all this as a Slack bots.
Yeah. So all of this use case basically was intended initially to be for internal use, not external use. Okay.
Yes. I always had in my mind that whatever I solve for ourselves, I'm sure there are other clients, exactly, that they will have the similar problem at least.
Yeah.
So I had this in mind, but I was solving for us. And then it was like just shocking how many employees at Bayzat just keep using these Slack bots over and over again, and surprised with how accurate it is. And the pipeline was very simple. Like I just took all the blog posts and indexed them in a vector data store, and then I started to make a similarity search, and everything was kind of manual and lower levels, and now all the frameworks made this easier.
And even before the vibe coding, I guess.
Way before that. So we took that and then we said, okay, let's build a product around that. And we built Knowledge Hub. This was the first AI product. And Knowledge Hub basically allow any company to store their documents into Bayzat platform. They can upload either company policies. They can also have a space for product team to write their PRDs. They can have engineering documentation, whatever they want. They can organize spaces, documents, same as you would do on Google Drive. But in 2023, so there was no Gemini, Copilot, or anything like that. So companies will upload the documents and then employees can ask the questions. And we got very, very good accuracy, optimized the prompt a lot, built a very good experience, and had a great team, a lot of amazing product managers. Take this idea, run with it, and did a lot of discovery and built, improved it till it became one of the core products that we provide and that generate revenue for Bayzat. This was the first one, Knowledge Hub.
Interesting. But actually a question on that part. I assume like back then the context window was very low in comparison to the LLMs that are offering it today. So like how were you able to kind of solve the context window thing since the knowledge base for each and every company is expected to be huge?
True.
So any kind of interesting exercises?
It was very challenging. So first, when we take the document, we index them in a vector store, right? And then we create similarity. So based on the chunk size, and we did a lot of optimization over chunk size, you fit the most relevant chunks. And sometimes we do multiple iteration. And again, when we started, there was nothing like that, so nothing to learn from. So we we had to experiment a lot and learn from what is the right chunking size for the document. What about PDF files? How we can convert them into something readable? And then we built a conversion for PDF files, used a lot of open source tools, and then we start to parse PDFs. And what about tables inside PDFs? What to do about them? Because if you just parse them as a text, lose the meaning. What about Excel sheets and so on? So it's tons of challenges there. But what we learned is if you are iterating, if you are listening to clients and giving them something useful, then they will use more and more, and you will learn more. And product adoption is very important for us. And after that, we can just launch more and improve it in general.
Makes absolute sense. So the knowledge base was considered to be the first use case.
First,
yeah. Are there any kind of other use cases as well?
Yeah. Many came about after that. So after that, we thought to solve the most traditional problem for enterprise companies, AI reporting, and we solved it with AI reporting.
Okay.
So a lot of companies, especially enterprise clients, asking for reporting. And we have some embedding dashboards. We partner with a lot of amazing vendors, but it's very limited.
Yeah.
So in one of the hackathon, I collected all the papers, everything I can find about text to SQL. And then we are on a hackathon where we start to experiment on how we can convert like natural language user question into a SQL statement, validate it, make sure it's safe, run it in a sandbox environment only for the customer data so they cannot reach any other data for any other clients, and how to get this response and visualize it with graphs and give the answer to a user. And it was phenomenal journey, and it looks like magic when you ask a question, then get response in a table or in a pie chart, and there's no any BI behind it or anything. It's just an AI with tool running in a loop like any agent and give you the results. And then from there we kept improving, adding more module, adding more, optimizing more the prompts and so on. And then we added the functionality where like users can add the charts to a dashboard, build a dashboard from AI, and then save reporting and so on. So now like also a lot of companies are using this feature. One of the things also at the same time that we ran with was in nutrition. We partnered with a company in Spain to provide chat with nutrition, dietitian, where employees can ask health-related and diet-related questions, whether they are it's necessary for them to follow a certain diet or just for general better health. And that help, of course, for companies paying for insurance to reduce the claim, and for insurance companies, for our clients on insurance, for employees as well to be more health. So it was like went across everything. So we partnered with this company, and then when we learned a lot about what we can do with AI, we experiment on blind tests where we show them the AI answers and real dietitian nutrition answer and see where they prefer. And most of our clients prefer the LLM generated answers.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So we canceled the contract with the dietitian company, and we continued with AI.
Interesting. So if I would summarize what you're saying, you would be providing like an HR assistant or commoditizing the HR assistant for every kind of employee, whether on the nutrition side or whether, I guess, on the psychiatry side. Is there any sort of activities that you're doing on that front as well, or?
This one we have, but without AI, because it's more responsible. So we have we have a wellness session with a psychologist that employees can take it free, part of the wellness initiatives, and they can actually talk with a real psychologist. I think we're still a little bit far from getting into doctors and psychology area with AI. But also we did something with insurance, because insurance was very complex, right? And when you read, it's like a contract or the terms and conditions that just call and agree. So what we did is we also built like the AI assistant can answer you. For example, when I went to get these glasses, I asked our AI assistant like, what's my limit for insurance for prescription and my eyeglass, etc. And I got the answer while I'm standing. I made the decision based on what I can afford to buy, etc. And that was very helpful. And we keep adding more this assistance or capability of the AI assistant for the employees
Okay.
using Bayzat.
Interesting. So let's move on to something else. When the COVID hit, there are lots of, companies that went into remote. How did you find that the activity within Bayzat, especially that you're empowering, the different HR teams inside and every company of your clients? So have you seen like most companies are evolving into the remote first kind of setup, and how were you able to help them achieve that? And I have a follow-up question, which is, does your client or most of your clients actually are remote first companies, or most of them are physical?
Before answering that, do you want a teaser about AI, something we're cooking in the kitchen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So what we realized, I think, as many other companies, enterprise clients will go more to building a very tailored solution for their specific problem. And there is no such company can build this solution for every single client. That's unique solutions to solve. So what you're trying to do is the product market fit. But what we are moving towards with this AI is building this micro apps, micro solutions that solve the client specific problem. So we want to disrupt ourselves before that disrupt us as a B2B SaaS. So what we are cooking right now, and we started to see the power of it, we started to build an AI micro apps builder where we can build a solution specifically for our clients using AI, like vibe coding, and without any engineering involvement. It it understands the API's integration of Bayzat, understands the brand, the color theme, it understands the context. It also have access to all the data that it's needed, and then we can launch this micro for a specific client. And now we can deploy a forward deployed engineer into our clients that can sit with them, look into the most pressing problems that they have, and solve it for them. And that will make us like even more hyper localized to the level not of a nation but a level of an enterprise, and maybe even if a level of a team inside the company using that. And it's hosted, it's understand your entire company or organization, how all the policies, all the integrations, all the data that you have. And you can then give access, for example, to sales team to use a micro apps that will help them with prospecting or lead generation, or you can build one for your marketing team and you can give them access with that. So I think there's a very unique area here that we are going to navigate, and hopefully we'll launch this very soon.
Very interesting. So would it be considered like a marketplace that anyone can like build an app on top of your platform, and that would be tailored based on his use cases, for example, or his requirements, and then be able to tweak your platform based on the industry that the client exists in?
Yes, but I wouldn't say it's a marketplace, because the marketplace, then there will be maybe two-sided buyers, or you can allow others to use it. But this is within your organization.
Okay.
So for example, let's say you want to build an app for customer success to help clients using all the troubleshooting guides and user guides that you have, and you already have all this on Bayzat, and you want to help them to answer this faster. You can build this app and give access to anyone joining the CS team to be able to use this AI assistant. Or it can be non-AI related. It can be a micro app for example, for your specific expense policy that you want to build, and you want everyone to use it, and you will be able to do that. And instead of doing it as standalone and think about, okay, how I will let my organization use it, how I will give access to employees, how I can set different reporting lines and permissions, and where's the integration will happen. This will happen inside your all-in-one.
Absolutely. I think it makes absolute sense, because when one would think of an HRMS, in most cases, it doesn't fit as a plug-and-play solution. Definitely, it needs a customization. So this is where I think your new offering makes a lot of sense for many companies. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Ahmed. Okay, so moving on to the COVID, yeah. So
Yeah.
how did it treat you?
So, like many others, when COVID started, there was kind of a shock first, what's going on in the world. But in parallel, we wanted to be taking the first initiative before everything goes forced to us. So we always want to take control. So we were already kind of engineering remote first. So we still have offices, but we had also remote teams. So you can maybe think about it as hybrid, but not 100% for remote. So uh, when we realized that this is gonna happen, before any company stayed at home, we actually made the decision. And we stayed at home ourselves first. And we started to experiment so many things. So we tried having more frequency calls, started to have maybe some activities online and so on. We were trying to figure out as many people, but what helped us, I think, that we distracted ourselves as well, even with COVID. We started that early, and that we have a hybrid model from the beginning, so we know how to work remotely, but we just didn't get used to the fact that you cannot leave your home even for social activity, and that was too much on many people. And also we thought about it from humane personal perspective. So maybe we're struggling a lot in psychologically and mentally, and especially families with kids, how they will deal with kids running around and work. So we try to support them from this perspective. And I believe in leadership, when you invest in people, things turn to be good for them and for the organization they are working for, and they always surprise you with better than you expected. So I believe that a lot.
Yeah. But did it impact the product? I mean, when you have seen those many clients that are shifting towards the remote, so you thought about, for example, maybe there are certain features that needs to be adjusted on the product side, or okay,
We did, and it failed.
okay.
So what we did, that was very natural thing to come out of our mind. So what we think, okay, Zoom is growing, Slack is going, let's build something so for companies like Teams or Slack, and employees can chat and use it, etc. We built it, we launched it. No one used it, we killed it. So I think
Okay.
there's a lot to learn there, because what happened usually is, as I explained in AI, we had a lot of problems,
Yeah.
and then technology came, made them very easy to adapt. And in that specific case, it was very seasonal. Like, okay, everyone's sitting at home, so we're spending time a lot in Slacks. Maybe we build something similar. And from technology perspective, solution was good. It was working. There's no difference. But people were already using Teams, Slack, and Zoom, and the cost of a change is very high, and there's a lot of investment in order to do that. So it didn't work out.
Yeah, and even a great player like Amazon, they have Chime, and recently they've killed it as well because of the fierce competition that exists. So it always makes sense to ask first, is there a room or a gap or not? And it's always important as well to fail fast, as you mentioned. Once you realize it doesn't work, it's important to kind of pivot. So great to hear that. Okay, so moving on to the tech stack. Can you tell us more about what's your tech stack on the development side and on the data engineering side, like which tools and frameworks you use?
So we are using Kotlin on Spring on the back end. We migrated to Flutter on mobile. By the way, Kotlin also was a migration. So we migrated from PHP to Kotlin.
Okay.
On Spring. We migrated from native to Flutter.
Okay.
We migrated from Ember.js to React.
Okay.
So many migrations. So we changed our Slack, but
that's hot shift and lift.
Yeah, that's been our stack for many years now. So Kotlin Spring on the back end, Flutter mobile, and React TypeScript on front end.
Okay. And regarding the database,
we're using RDS PostgreSQL.
Okay.
Managed solution by AWS.
And and I assume all is hosted as well on AWS.
Our production working environments in AWS.
Okay.
It's in UAE.
Okay. Perfect. Are there any sort of regulatory requirements that mandate the data residency needs to be on a certain?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Because we are dealing with health-related and insurance-related
yeah,
data, PII data, and salaries, employees' documents like passport and so on. So you need to host the data in UAE, and we use AWS in
yeah,
your region to host and
and
serve our
and
customers.
likewise, I guess for Saudi as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, we have the data residency with Google Cloud in KSA, and I think AWS also expanding in Saudi Arabia. Maybe next year they will launch, so we can have also the workload, not only the data.
yeah, absolutely. Everyone is waiting for this news, actually. Okay, perfect. So deep down, when it comes to the tech stack, so can you share with us some of the interesting or one of the most painful challenges that you have faced throughout your career at Bayzat? How was it?
I think um, when you build a complex enterprise product over time, it gets complex, and it's kind of inevitable. Like you keep adding, and you are building these features, you are listening to clients, and things get more and more complexities increased. And I think there's a very unique aspect to that, where if you didn't pause and think about what to do to distill this complexity and make like really brave decisions into breaking this down, it can lead into failure of even large organizations. I will give you a few examples. When we did the migration from PHP to Kotlin, it took the team 9 months, and that can shut down a lot of companies. We were
Absolutely.
lucky to survive from that. And when we did the front end migration, we were very mindful, and mobile as well. And we did it in a very different way. And we did it in a way where we can host both of them together, use a lot of techniques to make sure like we go gradually about it. Took us longer, but it didn't disrupt the feature development as much. And what I learned through these migrations when you do it is the idea of like, let's pause the world and do a huge migration, it is usually lead to more time and more complexity than people think. And I think it's similar to the waterfall model when you build a product. If you want to have all the requirements and everything ready, and then you start to build the product, usually you end up with a product that no one wants to use.
Absolutely.
So I think that was a big learning on a macro level. On a micro level, I think um, dealing with non-deterministic AI challenge into either building now Bayzat micro apps with AI, or during the days where we built text to SQL and so on. It requires a lot of experiment and testing and evals in place in order to be able to get something really work. And most of the time, the simplest solution without all the complexity of frameworks and so on, if you know what you're doing, works the best. And I think I remember reading the article Claude published about research agents, and the engineers also realized something similar. You have the LM as an agent working a loop, because I have access to tools and other agents, and that worked for them much more better than relying on any of the frameworks. And I think for us as well, not against frameworks when it works, sometimes simplify a lot. But first, you have to start with your own hands to understand where is the complexity exactly, so you can make a decision of whether framework will help you or not, and where exactly it's going to help you.
Okay, interesting. So when it comes to the decision of the build versus buy, which one are you in favor of?
There's no depends. There is no an umbrella for that, but kind of our formula with the team is, if the maintenance cost is too high, and if we can find a reliable solution that can solve our problem and we can pay for it, that's usually cheaper than spending 6 months to build it and continuously maintaining it. So we measure that as well into consideration. we tried, for example, to find a good AI reporting text to SQL in the market. We tested so many of them, but it ended out that our own solution, because it's built and understand how we deal with the data and everything, was the best solution for us. And here's the build made sense. But in terms of, like, for example, observability, monitoring, etc., using Datadog made sense. And in many cases in our size, we find using a cloud provider like AWS makes sense. In some cases, like in some organizations, they found self-hosting and having your own data center and so on, they make more sense. And I got my career and experience going to data center, putting the server in the rack, and I know how painful it is when you have hardware failure, dealing with that. You need a NOC team, you need a data center
Absolutely.
engineer.
The management
Any-
of the whole thing as well, it needs to be taken into consideration. Yani nothing 100% right or wrong, but I think like it also depends on whether this sort of product or this certain feature would be considered as a core product or not. In case it's a core product, then people would be more inclined to kind of build it in house, because eventually this would be some sort of a core value proposition.
Of course, if it's your IP, that's a different story. Yeah.
Yeah.
You like, if it's an infrastructure service, it's help you. I think that formula work with maintainability. But if it's something around your IP, that's a different story. Like, I think in relying heavily on vendors and solution when your IP, you are having a very thin defensibility against what you are building, and that's not a good place to be at.
Yeah, absolutely. Ahmed, people sometimes like think about scalability in when the company kind of starts, versus others are geared towards speed and quick iterations and so forth. Which school you come from, and why? Like, in case you're favoring speed or you're favoring scaling and over engineering in the first place.
That's very hard to give you a definite answer. I can give you some examples. When we start to build some of the product features that we're building today, I usually start with the mindset that, can I throw this away and rebuild it in 2 weeks? If the answer is yes, then I will do a POC just to understand, is it possible to build that new module, new features inside the product? And then I will think about testing it and think about building it in a proper way later when I validate that, whether it's a POC or an MVP. If you are building the company, the entire product, the core of the company, I think a good engineering practice and good architecture should be in place. Otherwise, it will be extremely expensive. Unless you don't even know if you will pivot or not, and like unless you don't know even this is a product you want to build and you're just prototyping. And rapid prototyping, I think, is something became more accessible now to the industry. So I would suggest to rapid prototype even non-scalable solution, and when you validate it, this is a problem your customer use. If you are starting a new company or something, then do a proper engineering practice and architecture and design, because that's your IP and what will scale with you. But if you already know and you have clients even on a manual solution, and you know that you want to build the technology around it, and you already figure out product market fit, then do the engineering practice. So as you know, like, build what's not scaling today and to scale tomorrow. So when you are building a startup, I think this mindset's not bad, to rapid prototype, vibe code it even if you want, and put it in the hand of a few users, get a feedback, and then build the right solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, like I find some people tend to go fast when it comes to think about the scalability problems and how to engineer the solution really well, and the idea in the first place is not validated. So the problem that comes in place is that they spend like 3, 4, 5, 6 months in building something that may never be used in the market. So
yeah. Yeah, I think over engineering is um, always happens, and it's our ghosts.
Yeah.
So we need to avoid it when we don't have validation for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, which approach you're more inclined with, microservice or monolithic architecture?
I will tell you what we are doing in Bayzat and then explain when it makes sense to do what. We are doing modular architecture. So we have a standalone module that's deployable and contains the context and the service scalable and so on. So, for example, it made sense for us for a module like attendance to be standalone deployable, right? Because tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 doing a check-in in the morning, check-out in the morning. You don't want to scale the entire product, your auth service, your payroll processing, your AI features. You don't want to scale the entire thing to serve the attendance service, right? So it makes sense to separate it. It makes sense to make it scalable on its own. But it doesn't make sense to go, for example, have a service for check-in and have a service for checkout, have a service for a break, and have a service for commenting on attendance, for example, and so on. You keep, because the complexity of managing these microservices at the end will become very, very expensive. So I think the modular architecture and the standalone modules that are the separate modules that are scalable makes sense and very important instead of a huge monolith that scales this way.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes microservice also makes sense not only because of the scalability, but also during the prototypes that you mentioned. So if you are building fast and you want to have like a POC or an MVP and test on real users, maybe you want just to create some services, some Lambda functions here or some Google function there, and or use Versa or something like that, just to prototype and deploy these services on the edge and test your solution and see how things work. And move on. And if this is faster to prototype, then it might be a good decision at the beginning. If it's faster to just build a whole Next.js app full stack that's monolith, then it might make sense for you to split it up.
So actually, I'm curious about one of the points that you've mentioned. You've taken a very bold and brave decision when it comes to the migration of the different stack, and I'm sure there has been very tough conversations. I mean, with either the team and the guys that are responsible over the product roadmap and so forth. So first thing, like, how did you manage to kind of go through this experience? And second, like, what are the recommendations to manage the technical debt overall?
When it comes, there's two parts in to answer this question. One is I try to tackle technical debt into more continuous problem rather than an event. So, for example, we introduce functional OKRs, whereas the entire backend team sit together and set on OKRs to improve the infrastructure, their environment, and clear a lot of technical debt. And this happens weekly. And then we dedicated Fridays on working on these OKRs. So the team gathered together and start to tackle this technical debt and this functional OKRs on a weekly basis. And then we pause once or twice a year to even have like a more focused period to make a sprint over these OKRs.
But the question is, يعني, is the sort of the technical that OKRs are taken parallel to the product roadmap kind of requirements and the tickets, or
yes.
Okay, so maybe for example 30%
every Friday, so it's around 20%.
20%.
Yes, and we have this rule. So, for example, there's an important things that we need to ship for either contractual constraints or something with the clients that we need to ship, and we will skip, or a few team members responsible for this product will skip 1 or 2 Fridays of architecture Fridays. Then we connect them together, and then they will have a 5 days pause. So we try to keep it continuous to keep your kitchen always clean and to keep the technical data or the code base in a healthy stage, because when you accumulate too much, it will become very, very painful to clean that. And we learned the hard way. So this is related to technical debt, but sometimes migrations like the one we did with Ember to React or the native mobile apps to Flutter, this is technology shift. And when it reached the point where adding a new feature became very, very slow, then we think about long term. Okay, how it will look like in 1 year from today, how many features will be able to ship with the current speed, with all this complexity. And maybe if we pause for a little while, or we slow down, not completely pause, but if we slow down and did this migration, then we'll be able to ship even faster. Then the decision came from this perspective. So we started to slow down on feature development, spent time in parallel into doing this parallel migration from Ember to React till we completed it, and then we're able to ship faster and provide better solution to our clients as well.
Makes sense. So moving on to the team management section. So first thing, uh, what's your process of leading the team, or what's your leadership sort of style? Is it sort of, I mean, leading by example, or any kind of special practices that you're following as a leader?
There are three core principles in the leadership culture. One is you flip the pyramids. So instead of a reporting structure, we are having supporting structure. So leader on the bottom, supporting the team member to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. And you are a servant leader, helping them to achieve this goal. So you think about yourself as a leader, as an enabler. You think, okay, what can I do to allow my team members to thrive, to grow? How can I help them to achieve what they want to achieve? And when you come with this mindset to the team members, you usually new team members like get surprised by that. But what ends up happening is over time, you are giving them the opportunity to think about the personal growth, and when they see that you also care about that on different level, they tend to think about and engage with work environment in a very unique way. So that is one. And the second thing is we give autonomy to the team. So building an autonomous team and giving them a voice and a way to make their own decisions. And you set the visions and the direction, and you challenge, and you help to guide them to reach the conclusions. But you are not doing an authoritarian mandate decisions into every micro step. Sometimes it's important for a leader to make a gut call and say, okay, we are going this direction. That's of course necessary a lot of times, but when it will not make a difference. And when you can direct the team and influence them over micromanaging them, I prefer influence. And I think that helped us a lot to build the trust among the different team members and what they are doing. I think also one of the core values that we have, or third one, is building a safe fail environment where psychological safety there, so teams can experiment without fear of punishment. So I think one of the core ideas of building culture is what you do is who you are. And if you are punishing mistakes, then people will be afraid to do mistakes. If you are criticizing experiments, you will do less experiments. So building a feel-safe environment with blameless post-mortem culture helped us a lot into giving an environment and a place for engineers to experiment and run with different ideas and try them. And we sometimes even we dedicate time for that. Just you have one week to do whatever you want. And a lot of great ideas came out of that.
Absolutely. Actually, I have a follow-up question. When you flip the pyramid, actually, so in that case, the team, each team member would be responsible of setting his own OKR, or would you still set this OKR and people would follow?
That's one of the things that I spent personally months doing research, reading, and thinking about it, and we came up with a framework. So we built our growth framework, engineering growth framework, and this growth framework works like this. First, it has 4 areas: engineering, technology, personal, and product. And then each area, this is like what you need to learn about engineering practice in general. And there are things like, for example, processes, documentation, how to deal with technical data, and so on. This is like attributes of or topics inside the area. And in technology, things like your technology stack, what you are, how is your knowledge in Spring and Kotlin, on Flutter, on React and TypeScript, and so on. And then in personal, how is your communication, giving, receiving feedback, having leadership initiatives, and so on, driving change and other things related to personal. And with product, it's very important for engineers also to have ideas about good product practice. You know, what's a good discovery looks like, opportunity assessments, how you go about customer interviews. It's not like our engineer doing a product job, but it's good for them to understand what's going on for the product to be built. So this is kind of topics inherited from the areas. And then we set level without a limit. So you can, if you are level 3, you build level 4.
And these levels entitle the seniority of the person, or what does it designate?
We try to separate your growth from your promotion and so on. Of course, there's an influence there, but career growth framework is built for you as an engineer and focus on you. So what we did is when you start, I will give you a practical example so you can understand how this fits together. So let's say you are an engineer and you have all these areas and topics and subtopics, attributes, etc. And then your leader and the head of the function. So, for example, you are in the payroll cross-functional team, so you have a VP of engineering or engineering manager, and you are a front end, so you have the head of front end. So both of them sit with you and tell you, okay, what do you think your level in the product discovery knowledge? And we give some guidelines of how you define your level 1, level 2, like what do you need to know in order to reach this level. And let's say the engineer said, I think I'm level 4. If the direct leader disagree and said, no, I think you're level 2, and let's say also the head of the function said, no, I think you're level 2, we listen to the team member. So we tell them, we disagree, or if you are and this is why. And if they're still not convinced, then we say, okay, we'll go with you level 4. Now you need to go to level 5. And this is the way to go from 4 to 5. And then if they're wrong, it will be extremely difficult to go to this level, right?
Yeah.
So you are not, you are giving them the trust, but then now they need to all do all the hard work from level 2 and 3 and 4 combined to reach the level 5, right? But I found this trusting the team member on their judgment is a big thing, gives them the advice, gives them the perspective. Mostly they listen, but like if not, they listen to them. And then we ask also the team member where you want to grow. So you are after you do all the survey and you evaluate yourself, your colleague will also share with you their perspective. Your leader will share your perspective, like your line manager, and then the head of function will share your perspective. So you have like complete 360 view. And then we tell you, okay, in this subtopic, in for example, communication, under personal, you are on level 2. And in technology, on TypeScript, you're level 4. Where you want to invest? And then they have the conversation. And then this evolved, okay, I want to actually focus on becoming better engineer. So I want to focus on TypeScript and React and a little bit on communication. Then they set the goal with you, your leader and the head of the function. And then they start to help you to reach the goal. And your leader is like your coach, sit with you. Maybe they are not expert in the function, but they are expert in leadership and people management. So they will help you as your coach to achieve this goal. And your head of function will help you on a technical perspective, how to actually achieve that. What are the steps, which documents you need to read, which things you need to practice, and so on. And the team member just loved it.
Yeah, very interesting, to be honest. Um, is this framework offered for your clients as well, or this is something purely internal? Like, are you planning to offer it for as part of your HRMS solution, or?
We built it in house for us, and the reason we did that is there's a lot of ways and frameworks out there from great companies like Medium, Dropbox, and their engineering growth framework is public, and maybe we'll make ours public as well. But we found that we need to have something very unique to solve our own problem, and that's what we did. Why we did that? So we think it's very tailored to us, and we also not applied for maybe to some similar companies, engineering, technology led, and also believe in the same values that we believe in. It could be helpful, but I don't think for every client it's the same way or will solve the problem.
I see. Okay, so are there any practices that you're following to motivate the team members, and so any specific activities
to motivate them in general?
Yeah.
First, we need to ask them what's important for you. One of my favorite interview questions that I ask for every candidate: what motivates you the most? And after they tell me, I ask them the opposite: what demotivates you the most? Every team member and every person, they have different motivations, and I think it's very important for a leader to know and to understand what motivates that person. Some of them they like the praise, some of them they don't like the praise in public. Some of team members they like very challenging problem solved. Some of them their challenge problem will break them. They need challenging enough to grow, but not too much. And that's in as a guideline. But also, I found that involving team members into the problem and very early on from the problem discovery, from definition, and getting their opinion and giving them the autonomy to choose is something that
it
in
makes
general
them
common,
exciting.
Yeah, excites the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So moving on to the regulatory and security aspect. So Ahmed, you're dealing with lots of PII data and lots of sensitive data like the payroll salaries and so forth. And actually, we had one incident where the payroll actually was circulating, and it was disaster. So I can't imagine how are you handling this? I mean, not only for yourself but across the whole organization and the whole companies that you're serving. So any sort of special practices?
Yeah. So a good engineering practice in general is important.
Yeah.
We recently got SOC 2 and the ISO 2700 compliance. And when we were exploring this opportunity, should we get accreditation or not, we thought about it from value, from also the trust perspective, and we found it's win-win. Win for us because we will learn about some good practices. And we found that majority of them we are having, not 100%, but maybe 70% that we were already following. We partnered with Dorata to see like how we are compliant on monitoring and automate this process because it's difficult. There's a lot of great companies like Dorata, Vant, and so on. But I think following in security, specifically a standard like that, will help you to figure out things that you don't know, and it will like look into under the hood a little bit. But also we follow regular penetration testing with a third-party company, black box, try to get the data, retrieve the data, and see what's happening. So far running this for maybe 6-7 years in a row and nothing major or something.
Great.
But also we encrypt everything. So let's say for whatever reason someone got access to the database, they can read nothing.
Yeah.
So it's encrypted at rest. Same for the files, for everything. It's end-to-end encrypted. So I think that was a good practice to protect the data. And also having a continuous monitoring over your stack is very important. So using a good solution where you can look into, you have always alerts for the new vulnerabilities, scanning for third-party dependencies, for
the
the
static code analyzers
static
with
code analysis,
yeah,
exactly.
the
So
dependency
very
checkers and yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the regulatory requirements, you mentioned already SOC 2 and ISO, which is great. But are there any kind of regulatory framework aspects, whether in UAE, whether in Saudi, that is mandated? I mean, to govern how the data is protected, apart from the practices that
there are. There's a data protection law in both mandate certain things for protecting the customer data and deleting customer data. It's similar to GDPR, but instead of EU, it's in for UAE and KSA, they have their own. I think it's very close to GDPR, and in some areas even less like more forgiving. So if you are following GDPR guidelines, because we are not GDPR,
yeah,
it's just the guidelines for us, or if you read the data protection policy and regulation for you, in case you will you will know a lot, but mainly you need to give like a way for customers to be able to delete their own data. You need to when they ask for it, you need to also provide the data when they ask for it, and you need to have the data for PII and health related data hosted in the region, in the same country as you are serving your clients. It's the general guidelines. It gets user consents when you are performing actions on their behalf. So that's in a very high level.
perfect. So moving on to the section of what if scenarios. So in this section, we're going to imagine together the scenarios and think about like the possible solutions. So imagine like Bayzat does have the opportunity of being located across the different regions, yet the solution needs to be kind of locally hosted or following, of course, the multi-tenant architecture. So are there any kind of special activities that you're going to do and to consider? I mean, from a product and tech development standpoint.
You mean what if we scale on entire GCC, for example, and
Absolutely,
country have their own
absolutely,
approach?
and you have not just using the current, I mean, hosted solution, but you have to provision new sort of instances, new يعني, servers and so forth.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. So for the first part, I think you need to work with local vendors. So for example, expand in Qatar, there's Doha Data Center from Google. You are expanding in Bahrain, there's AWS. So it depends where you go. So if you can always like find a good provider in the region, and sometime before Google or Azure or AWS to be in that country. Sometimes there is a small local provider, usually from telcos. So maybe you can think about some partnership there, or having hosted solution on in a certain way that can serve your customers. So I think if usually regulation is non-negotiable. So if the regulations say you need to have the data, you have the data, and the best way to do that is to partner with one of the large cloud providers. If not there, then you can find a local provider to serve your customers. For like provisioning specifically for a client their own instance, I think from a product decision, so far we are not willing to do that because of the complexity that come with it and the cost involved. We are like a B2B company like Slack, for example. So for you can choose the region for Slack, maybe if you're an enterprise customer, or if you're using Salesforce, you can do the same. But hosting on client premise or standalone deployments, I think it comes with a lot of costs that
Yeah,
not
hidden costs and high maintainability stuff and
yeah.
so forth. Yeah, makes sense. So what if Stack Overflow isn't there? Likewise for ChatGPT and any sort of solutions that give the knowledge base, I mean, for the engineers. So how would the team maneuver against this?
Old school documentation.
Yeah.
Old school documentation. I think while all this help you to get faster answer, a good engineer always look into this answer and validate it. There's not much difference between an engineer used to look into Stack Overflow and copy paste a code snippet, and an engineer copy paste a generated code from ChatGPT or from Cloud Code or Codex, etc. Of course, there's a different way now to use it, with like using as a pair engineer where you can code together autocomplete, and there's based on what you're building, you can go all the way into vibe coding to prototype something and test it in an environment just to see how it looks like and show it to a user. And only using auto tab and autocomplete to make sure it's very safe. And in the middle, where you generate code, you review it, you write the specs, and I'm sure you're about spec-driven development and how you providing clear specs can help the AI coding generation to generate better codes. And it depends. All of them are okay. It depends on what you are building. And a good engineer building something sensitive in production that is responsible, they need to review and make sure they have the guardrails, automations, validation in place before they push that code. And now it's became easier than ever to build this pipeline.
Interesting. So the final question on the what if scenarios. What if there is a client that managed to abuse your AI LLM solution, whether the chatbot side or the nutritionist and so forth, or the knowledge base, so that actually it costs you much more than the revenue that he brings. So because based on the tokens, I mean, that he's burning.
A few things here. One, we will love the people to use it more. So if they are using more, we are happy. And there's nothing better than that for any product builder to see that their products is used more. If abusing mean like misusing, like for example, sending random message or putting in a script in the browser, or maybe they even don't know, like they just have a malware, then we have retramiting and protection in place to protect us against that. So this behavior, we secure it from the very top level, and not to be in that situation. We have tons of rate limits from budget perspective, API calls, multiple tiers on the from all the way down the stack, right? So we are protected against the abuse. But if it's natural behavior or user really love it and they want to ask every day wherever they want, that's a product usage will love that. That's
okay. So Ahmed, what do you think about the future when it comes to the HRMS and the tech and the HR mix, like in the future, where it will go? We have seen already the commerce. It's going through a disruption phase where there is the agentic commerce and then so forth. So how do you think about the future of the HRMS solutions?
I think employee management platform in general that includes everything from HRMS, payroll management, health related, wellness, engagement, and AI assistant. All this are going. You are going to see more of agents that you can hire to do specific things. So you can say, okay, I want to hire an HR ops agent that will look into the leave request, and if it's not compliant with the policy because we have these rules, it will comment and reject the leave policy. And you will have a lot of automation and autonomy and agencies that you can hire that can do different tasks within the platform. Another one that I already give you a sneak peek about, that you will look into more tailored solutions that solve a very specific problem for organizations, and this will be for them to customize and build on their own. So I think you will see from both perspective the agency and the hiring of that and also the customization and is a hyper customization for
Okay.
enterprise.
But do you think like this is the evolution of the HR function is to be, for example, replaced by these AI agents, so that for each and every corresponding employee personnel, there would be that AI agent that is responsible for fulfilling all of the tickets and all of the concerns of the employee itself, rather than the HR?
Actually, in Bayzat, our PNC, People and Culture team, that's how we call them over HR, but our People and Culture team, and they are now focused on what we want them to focus the most, which is building the culture, building the leaders, coaching team members, and help to strengthen this organism of entire entity of the company, with different teams, different employees from different cultures, different backgrounds, and so on. I think this is there's a very strong benefits for organizations, for their PNC or HR teams to do that. So by automation, they love it because we are giving them more time back so they can focus on that. So I think by allowing other organizations to benefit from this agency and automation, they will allow their HR and PNC teams to focus on actually building what they meant to do, which attracting talent, building the employer brand, hiring and having a better process into turnaround from candidate to an employee, managing the leadership team and helping them to grow and provide like leadership coaching and so on. So I think this what every HR and PNC team
makes absolute sense. So let's put it that way: they are going to do different things. They're not going to be replaced.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, great. So last section, the conclusion. So first of all, are there any kind of recommended books, or what's your favorite book of all time?
I think Hard Things About Hard Things.
Okay.
Ben Horowitz.
Oh, I don't know it honestly, but like, does it discuss? I can assume based on the title, challenges, maybe. Or
yes. That, for example, yeah, Ben Horowitz is great about in the main part of A16Z.
Okay.
You heard about that?
Yeah.
So, I think Ben Horowitz have like I learned a lot and maybe quoted a few things during this discussion as well. So he's a famous one who said, "What you do is who you are." You also think about culture is the actions that you do, not the written slogans or anything like. And if your actions is different than the principles that you have, then there's no culture. The action is your culture. And related to this specific book, Ben Horowitz talk about the stories when he forced it to go to IPO with Netscape, the browser.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of hard decisions went through that. And usually, as in leadership, you try to avoid hard decisions, and just push the can down the roads gonna cause more severe damage and consequences. And just getting away, any great book, if you can have one or two ideas out of them, that means this book worth reading. And I got many ideas from Ben Horowitz and Hard Things About Hard Things.
Interesting. So any advice to futuristic CTOs and people aspire to be engineering leaders?
I think what I did to basically, when I was thinking about engineering leadership when I was very young, I thought about having a diverse knowledge is very important for me. So I played different roles, from managing very complex, large scale database in data centers across 3 data centers with hundreds of billions of records, to mastering the network engineering and network development, to going for system operations. There was no SRE at this time. So being a system engineer and managing servers and infrastructures, to do backend backend coding and very heavy services that serve millions of users, to do front end work, to work on AI and some related services like that, to work with data engineering. So all this diversification, I did it intention. And when I was doing that in my mid 20s, early 20s, I was doing it because I had this goal in mind that this will help me if I want to be a senior leader in the domain. And it did help me a lot. And I'm having, like, when I did even maybe 6 months of very intense learning about security engineering and cybersecurity in general, and doing some consultation service. So when I interview someone to join the team for security, I know how to interview them. When I hire someone for infrastructure, I know how to interview them, and so on. And when I have conversation that, because as a CTO, you're responsible for the technology, for the process, for the people. So when I have conversation across that, I understand what does it mean to build the product, not in isolation, but as a connected entity that will serve the customers and will achieve the company goals. So this was one very important part from the technicality and the muscle. And the other part was learning about leadership. This came the hard way. So doing tons of mistakes and failing and learning.
Absolutely.
And growing, finding a good mentor and learning from them.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were to start from the beginning, would you do anything differently from what you've done, or it would be the same journey?
I don't think so. I think what happened in my career journey is the reason where I'm here today, and I loved all the aspects of it, the failure of it, the pain, the challenge, uncertainty, the anxiety, and the unknowns and the knowns, and the achievements, great moments, and the deep nights on the laptop with coding. So I loved it. I would do it again.
Great. Thank you, Ahmed, so much for sharing your journey, and very lovely to have you here in the podcast. And looking forward for our upcoming gathering.
Likewise, thanks for having me.
Thank you.